I'm Pierrette and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making pretzel bread rolls. They're absolutely delicious dinner-sized rolls and they're perfect for sandwiches or anything else, but they have the texture on the outside of a soft pretzel. So they're really, really yummy. I had not made these until recently, and I kind of got the idea after I did the barbecue pork, and I used pretzel bread rolls for those, but I didn't make them from scratch. And I thought, how hard could they be? They don't look that hard. Well, my first attempt was not so good. My second attempt was not much better. And it took a little bit of practice. By the third time I had it down. The trick is that, well, I'll tell you when I get there. Okay, so we're gonna start with 3/4 of a cup of warm water. Super simple. And we are going to do 1 teaspoon of yeast. And this is just an active dry yeast. You can buy the packets, but the packets have about 2.5 teaspoons per packet. So if you don't need a whole packet, you still need to store it. So I like the jars because it's just easier to store. And then we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of sugar. We're gonna stir that up. And we're gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. So simple, right? So critical. All right, check back with me in 10 minutes. Well, for you, it'll be 30 seconds, but for me, 10 minutes. While our yeast is blooming, I just wanted to remind you, please stay to the end of the video for more content. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button and you like our content, please make sure and hit the subscribe button so you get those notifications when they come in, and then you can follow all of our new stuff as it comes in. This is what the yeast should look like after about 10 minutes. You can see that it's not just water with some beige sand in it anymore. The sugar has reacted with the yeast as food, and now the yeast is blooming and it's taking action, it's bubbling, and that's what's gonna help our bread to rise. So the next step is to add 1 3/4 cups of flour. And I added my teaspoon of salt to that. And we're gonna start mixing. And you wanna use the dough hook on this. You can do it by hand. It just creates more of a mess on your counter, and it is a lot of work physically, but it's also a good workout. So, you know, win-win. Maybe a little higher than low. And as it starts to mix in, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter. I should have had this at room temperature, but I didn't plan ahead. Shh, don't tell. So I put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. And you don't want to do it any longer than that. You don't want the butter melted, you just want it softened. This dough is gonna need for another 10 minutes. You can see this process isn't complicated. It just takes time because there are steps and it needs to rest. So hang tight, I'll check back with you in 10 minutes. It's been 10 minutes, our dough looks great. And one of the ways that you can tell that is by the fact that the dough is not stuck to the outside edges of the bowl. It's pretty much in one big ball, and the bowl is mostly clean. So I'm going to take this and shape it by pushing the outside edges in so that we have a smooth top. Tuck all the edges in, set it in the bottom. We are going to cover it with plastic wrap, whatever you have, and then cover it with a towel. And I'm gonna put this in the oven on proof for 1 hour. And I will show you what that looks like when it's done. It should be approximately double the size that it is now. This is a really important step though, because if you don't do this, and this is what happened the first 2 times that I made them, I didn't let it rise. I cut up the dough, I shaped them into pieces and followed the rest of the steps for the pretzel bread. But when it baked, they were already overproofed, and that didn't work. Okay, so we're gonna pop this in the oven for 1 hour on proof. If you don't have a setting like that on your oven, you can just leave it on the counter. We just pulled this out of the oven. It's been proofing for about 50 minutes. Not quite an hour because it had already more than doubled in size. So I didn't want to overproof it. So what we're gonna do is take a little bit of flour and we're gonna pull this out. And it does come pretty cleanly out of the bowl. There we go. And I'm gonna put this back in a ball like we had it. There we go, nice and smooth. And I'm gonna cut this into 8 pieces. So we have, cut it in half, quarters, and then go diagonally to get the 1/8. And then I'll take each one of these pieces, and these are about 2 ounces each. And I'm gonna do the same thing, roll the outside edges under so that they're nice and round, and then kind of pinch them like a little mushroom, sort of. So the bottom is pulled together and tucked, and the top looks nice and round. And I'm gonna set them on this tray. We're gonna do 8 of those, and we're gonna put them back in the oven to raise for another 20 minutes. Okay, so we have our 8 rolls, and I'm going to cover them with the same piece of plastic wrap. And again, cover it with a dish towel. I'm not sure exactly what this does. I think it kind of keeps the whatever heat that it's generating as it's rising contained so that it has a better opportunity to rise better. I don't know why. My mom always did it, so I always cover it with a towel as well. These are going back in the oven to proof, not to bake, for about 20 minutes. We'll pull them out. They should be doubled in size, and then I'll show you what to do next. So this is where it helps to be able to multitask a little bit, but because you have at least 20 minutes while your dough is rising, you do have plenty of time. I went ahead and started a pot of boiling water, and the boiling water is to cook our dough with 1/4 cup of baking soda. And that's what gives it the unique, that's what gives it that unique texture that pretzels have. Rather than let yours spill over, maybe use a taller pot. I had 5 cups of water in here. I probably could have put a little bit less to prevent it from spilling over. But either way, you need about 1/4 cup of baking soda. So now we're gonna take our little dough balls and carefully drop them into the water. And you're gonna let them go 30 seconds, and then you're going to flip them over and give them 30 seconds on the other side. I think today I'm gonna do 4 at a time. I do have room. So after 30 seconds on the first side, we're just gonna flip these over. And I always try to make sure that I do them all in the same direction if possible, because it makes it easier to figure out which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. So we're gonna give this side about another 20 seconds, and then we'll pull them out. So we're just gonna pull these out, rest them on the parchment paper, and then put the other ones in. And they do get a little bit bigger while you cook them in the water, but the goal is when they rise in the oven. So we're gonna drop in the next 4. Just gonna flip these over as well. And it's very easy to do. Just take something, you can use a fork or a spoon, or I'm using my strainer, and kind of poke at one side and they'll flip right over. It is crazy how these rise. Just gonna scoop these out. One more major step to do, and then we're ready to pop these in the oven. We are very close to getting these in the oven, and they will be beautiful. So the next step, I took 1 egg and a tablespoon of water, and I'm just brushing it on the outside. Get all the way around the edges, down the sides, across the top. Make sure you cover them thoroughly. This is what gives them that beautiful golden rich color that they get after they're cooked. And then to expose a little bit of the white dough inside, that's why we put the egg wash on first. Now we're gonna take our knife. This is a little bit of a serrated knife, but it has a pretty sharp edge. We're just gonna cut down into the rolls. I would say about 1/4 of an inch if you can. And then I'm gonna rotate them the other way so that we make an X. And be careful, try not to smush them with your hand. These are going in the oven on parchment paper at 425 for 18 minutes. You can see that we cut down into them a little bit, making a nice deep X about 1/4 of an inch. So we're gonna pop them in and I'll show you the magic that is a pretzel dinner roll. Woo-hoo. Those look great. I did cover them with some foil for the last 2 or 3 minutes because I didn't want them to get any darker. So keep an eye on them when they are cooking, for sure. And I'm just gonna take them out. You hear that? That means they're cooked perfectly. I learned that on the British Baking Show. Thanks, Paul Hollywood. I'm just gonna put these on the platter, and these will make great sandwiches, great breakfast sandwiches with a little bit of egg and ham and cheese, or anything else that you wanna do with them. This will be part of dinner. I'm not sure what else I'm making yet, but we'll definitely be having pretzel rolls. They're a big hit with our family. I hope they'll be a big hit with yours too. And thanks for watching. Take care.